Hello students, this is Vishnu Tandel and welcome to my class. Dear students, today we are going to learn 10th standard geography first chapter resources and development. Here we are going to learn what is resource and types of resources. So let us start the class. First and foremost, here we need to understand the concept called resource. What do you mean resource? Resource is everything that available in our environment which can be used to satisfy our needs, provided it is technologically accessible, economically feasible and culturally acceptable can be termed as a resource. So everything that available in our environment, that could be water, that could be sunlight, that could be wind, whatever, which satisfy our needs are called as the resources. So this is all about resource. The process of transformation of the things that available in our environment involves an interdependent relationship between nature, technology and institution. Here, human beings interact with the nature or environment through technology and he create institution for their economic development. So the process of transformation of things that available in our environment involves an interdependent process. Here human being is in stays in center. So he interact with the nature with the help of with the help of technology, and he create institutions to accelerate his economic development. Now students, we always often assume that we feel that resources are free gifts. Actually, they are not free gifts. Human being is an important component in this process. Human being transfer the things that available in a environment. He create those things as a resource and he use it. So that's why human being is an important factor in this process. Here, the resources that available in our environment are classified into different groups on the basis of different criteria. What are the types? So let us learn the types of resources. So classification of resources. As I said that on the basis of different criteria, resources are classified into different categories. So on the basis of origin, resources are classified into two groups. One is biotic, another is abiotic. Second one, on the basis of exhaustibility, resources are again classified into two groups, renewable and non-renewable. On the basis of ownership, resources are classified into individual, community, national and international resources. And fourth one, on the basis of status of development, resources are classified into potential, developed, stock and reserves. So these are the different types of resources. Now let us study, let us understand, let us learn these resources one by one in detail. So first type of resource is on the basis of origin. So on the basis of origin, resources are classified into two groups. First one is biotic resource. Then what do you mean biotic resources? Biotic resources are obtained from the biosphere and these have life. So biotic resources are obtained from the biosphere and these have life. So human being, flora and fauna, forestry, fisheries and livestock, these are a good example for the biotic resources. So next one comes abiotic resources. What are the abiotic resources? So opposite of abiotic resources, which do not have a life. So things, those who have a composed with the non-living things are called as abiotic resources. Metal, rocks are a good example for the abiotic resources. Now let us move to the next one. On the basis of exhaustibility. On the basis of exhaustibility, resources are classified into again two groups. First one is renewable, another is non-renewable. Now let us learn about renewable resources. What are renewable resources? Resources which can be reproduced or renewed by physical, chemical and mechanical processes are known as renewable or replenishable resources. For example, solar, wind energy, water energy, forest and wildlife, etc. are a good example for the renewable resources. They can be regenerated. These can be reproduced. So here, renewable resources further divided into two groups. One is continuous and another is flow. So this is about renewable resources. Now let us jump to the second one, non-renewable resources. So these resources occurred over a long geological period or time. So mineral, fossil fuels are example of such resources. These resources takes millions of years in their formation. Some resources can be recycled, but some resources cannot be recycled. These resources exhaust by their use. For example, fossil fuels are the best example for the non-renewable resources. Now it's our duty to use the resources which are available. We have to use the resources in a judicious way. So let us move to the third type of resources, is on the basis of ownership. So on the basis of ownership, resources are classified into four groups. First one is individual resources. The word individual itself tells us that resources which are owned by an individual privately. So we can see many farmers, they own land allotted by the government. So people own their house, people own their well, so on, plantation. So these are the example for individual resources. In urban we can find people used to have plots, they used to have a house and other properties. So we can call these resources as individual resources. Individual resources are nothing but resources owned by an individual privately. Second type of resource is community owned resource. What is community owned resources? These are resources which are accessible to all the members of the community. Here, all people of a community can utilize these resources. So an individual cannot occupy these resources. So these are available for all the people of the community. Village commons like grazing grounds, burial grounds, village ponds, etc. are the good examples. And public parks, picnic spots, playground in urban area are accessible to the people living there. So community resources means resources which can be accessible, which can access by all the people living in a particular area. So let us move to the third one, national resources. National resources, technically all the resources belong to the nation, and country has a legal power or permission to occupy or acquire even private properties or resources. Here all minerals, water resources, forests, wildlife, land within the political boundaries, and even oceanic area up to 12 nautical miles. It means 22.2 kilometers from the coast termed as the territorial water, and resources therein belong to the nation. So even oceanic area up to 12 nautical miles belong to the nation. So these are the national resources. Now let us go to the next one, international resources. There are institutions which regulate some resources. Here the oceanic resources beyond 200 nautical miles of the exclusive economic zone belong to open ocean. No individual country can utilize these resources without the permission of international institution. Now next one, fourth type of resource is on the basis of on the basis of status of development. On the basis of status of development, resources are classified into four groups. First one is potential resources. What even potential resources? Resources which are in a region but have not been utilized. So some resources are recognized, surveyed in a particular region, but these resources have been not utilized. For example, western part of the India, especially Gujarat and Rajasthan, have an enormous potential of development of wind and solar energy, but still these have not been utilized. So in future we can utilize this one. So next one is developed resource. What even developed resource then? Resources which are surveyed and their quality and quantity have been determined for the utilization. So resources are surveyed and quantity and quality are determined. They can be utilized. But the thing is, development of these resources depends upon the technology and the level of the feasibility. So here, these kind of resources require highly developed technology. So here, in future we can use such resources. Next one is stock. Material in the environment have the potential to satisfy human needs, but human beings do not have a appropriate technology to access or utilize these resources. So these kind of resources are called as a stock. So as we know that, for example here, water is the components of two highly flammable gases. These are oxygen and hydrogen, which can be used as a good energy resources. But we human beings do not have the technology to utilize these gases, hydrogen and oxygen. So these considered as a stock, as these require highly developed technology. So next one, last one is reserves. Reserves are the subset of a stock. These require highly developed technology. So for example, river water can be used to generate the hydroelectric electricity, but these are used in a very limited extent. So water in the dam, forest, wildlife, these can be considered as a reserves, which can be used in the future generation to fulfill our needs. Now, the very important part of this lesson is the major problems of indiscriminate use of resources. We human beings think that resources are God given, and we have been using the resources indiscriminately without any proper measures. We are overusing the resources that are available in our environment. As a result, that created a lot of problems in our environment. So the first problem is the depletion of resources for satisfying the greed of few individuals. The first problem is the resources which are available in our environment are used to satisfy the needs of very few people. So depletion of resources satisfying the greed of a few individuals. And second one is accumulation of resources in a few hands, which in turn divided the society into segments that have and have not, poor people keep on using these resources, they are becoming rich, and poor remain poor. So these resources are accumulated, concentrated within a very few people. And the third thing is indiscriminate exploitation of natural resources has led the global ecological crisis such as global warming, ozone layer depletion, and environmental pollution and land degradation. These are the problems that occurred due to the indiscriminate use of resources. Now it's our primary duty to utilize the resources in a well way and well manner, in a judicious manner. Now, needs of resource planning. Now question arises. So, how to use the resources and what should we do to use the resources? Here we need a resource planning. So, now question arises, why do we need resource planning? Here, if the present trend of resource depletion by a few individuals and countries continues, the future of our planet is in danger. So we know that present trend, only few individuals or only few countries have been utilizing the resources available in our environment. If the same trend goes, then the future of our planet will be in danger. So that's why to avoid this problem, we need resource planning. Next one, resource planning is essential for the sustainable existence of all forms of life, which is component of a sustainable development. Now question arises, are we human beings only things or living things that living on the earth? No, there are other living things too. Even they need to survive, they need to live. So for the good and quality and well settled life, we must have a balance. There must be an ecological balance. So for the sustainable development, for the sustainable survival, we need resource planning. And the third thing, indiscriminate exploitation of resources has led to the global ecological crisis. So we know that we have been utilizing the resources indiscriminately, and if the same thing keep on, we continue this indiscriminate use, then that creates ecological crisis. To avoid this ecological crisis, we need resource planning. Now, question arises, then what is resource planning? Resource planning is a widely accepted strategy for a judicious use of a resource. It's nothing as a plan, it's a strategy, it's a plan or strategy how to use the resources. Nothing but use the resources in a judicious way. It's a strategy, plan to use the resources in a good way or a judicious way. That's called as a resource planning. Now, here I have some important questions. Examination point of view, these are very important questions. India has enormous diversity in the availability of resources. Justify the statement. Next one. In India, some regions are rich in certain types of resources but deficient in some other resources. Support the statement. We know that, and resource planning is essential a country like India. The reason is there are some country like India has an enormous diversity in the resources that are available in our environment. So the answer should be like this. There are some regions which can be considered self-sufficient in terms of availability of resources, and there are some regions which have acute shortage, some vital resources. For example, here the states of Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh and Madhya Pradesh are rich in minerals and coal deposits. These three states, Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand and Madhya Pradesh, these have rich deposits of coal and other minerals. And here Arunachal Pradesh has an abundance of water resources but lacks in infrastructural development like roads, building and other forms of infrastructural resources. Then here the states of Rajasthan is very well endowed with the solar and wind energy, lacks in water resources. We know that Gujarat and Rajasthan, these have an enormous potential of development of wind and solar energy.